LCR has always been a family to me, but in many ways it's been a lot more than that. I've been part of the building committee for our faith center. I'm excited to think of where we can take this congregation and what God may let us do in the future. Because the people before us had a vision of what our campus could really be, we've been able to build the faith center, and we've been handed a baton. We've been given the opportunity to go forward, and who knows where God will lead us next. I have been blessed so deeply by this church, and I so want to see that carried on. I want Resurrection to be here for hundreds more years, to welcome people from wherever they may come, and to let them find a home as well.
We have been blessed many times over from the church here in the congregation, and we are looking forward with this campaign to really move this out into the community and bring others and get them involved.
It's through the campaign of what God can do for you and do for us that we need to give what we can of our gifts, our talents, our finances to make it all possible.
Resurrection was started with a small group of people in somebody's living room in Granite Bay, all with people that got together that had faith and wanted to have a Lutheran church. In the early days, this church was just like a big family. Every time I drive down in front of the church, the office, towards the fellowship hall, I see a big redwood tree. Now, my dad planted that 50 years ago, and it was a little sapling. Another thing that I always think of is watching my mother count Betty Crocker coupons. Those coupons were turned into the silverware that we still use today in that kitchen. Now we have to look to the future. We've gone so far. We have the sanctuary, we have the faith center, all the Sunday school rooms. I can't believe how it's grown. And to me, 50 years is not that long for all that we've accomplished, and we just have to keep going and serving the community and serving God, actually.
I've been doing choirs, directing choirs, singing in choirs my whole life. And we get excited when we see people are touched by what we're doing. It makes us alive, and it truly brings the gospel to us. And that represents the history of this church. It represents what this church was built upon and what's important to the people of this congregation. We've been handed a legacy. It came to us in this congregation, and we have to decide, how are we going to go forward? What is our legacy going to be? What will people 50 years from now say about us in this church today? Imagine what God can
do. Well, we've had an incredible opportunity and a historical moment, really, to be together with the pastors who have been an integral part of leading this congregation to where it is today. This is a historic gathering. We have never all been in the same room, and I had not even met you, John. And so, Pastor John, you were the founding pastor of this congregation. Pastor Paul followed.
Correct.
Pastor Marty was a part of the ministry here with Pastor Paul. Pastor Al Schmidt picked up on that title as support pastor, and was here on staff when I was called. Well, imagine what we can do is a 3-year funding appeal to help us reduce our indebtedness, but it really is a launching pad for the next 50 years of ministry. And we've been called to be in mission, just like you were, Pastor John, when you started here. And that's what God continues to call us to do, share the gospel with this community.
This congregation has long been a forward-looking congregation in its setting of goals, in its meeting of new people, and I see this congregation continuing as a force for Christ in this community.
Well, my time at this congregation has basically been with older people and with shut-in people, visiting with these folks and carrying the gospel to them. It takes some dollars and cents, because it's going to require, as Pastor Don said, it's going to require some more pastoral help to really get that job done.
When I give money, I don't give it to the church, I give it to Jesus. And that the church is simply Jesus's means in order to carry out the mission.
The fellowship hall has been a central location for the ministry that I've been able to share, basically, with the congregation.
I think another point of the fellowship hall too is that it's been a center of ministry for the community.
Yeah.
Every conceivable group that I can think of.
What happens in the fellowship hall? We have AA groups. We have Al-Anon. We have an accordion group. That also has given us just a great entree for having a place for congregation meetings, but also for the community to meet.
The fellowship hall, yes, it was the original sanctuary, and we recognize that a building is not the church. However, a building houses the church and is the foundation and the functioning place of the church.
Likely, and we always brush over this. The Board of American Missions bought some property in a parsonage.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute, folks. That's not a pie in the sky. That money came from somebody else in the church who was contributing to the benevolence that made it possible for the church to do these things.
Right.
And so we're here because on somebody else's back.
Yep.
We didn't just suddenly spring out of a squirrel hole.
Giving to me is a privilege. It's being a part of a family, the body of Christ, and because I'm a part of it, it's my privilege to be able to give to it.
We've had an incredible opportunity to be together with the pastors who've served this congregation. And we're listening to and for what is the core of the ministry here. What is Resurrection all about? What was God imagining would happen when this congregation began? Your generosity and your support is going to make the difference for where this congregation goes in the future. Just imagine what God can do within us, through us, and for others. Thanks be to God.
Imagine what God